kindness in a cruel world. And the thing we have to remember is that the news has been shown to give us 17 times the bad news to good news. That's the ratio. 17 occasions of bad news to 1 occasion of good news. Because they report the exception. They report the exception. There are so many stories of kindness, of people who care for each other. We're hardwired to care for each other, actually. They've done studies on toddlers, and from the age of 18 months, oh, sounds like they're coming. From the age of 18 months, little toddlers, the professor, the researcher would drop a clothespin. They'd be hanging clothes and they would drop a clothespin. And if it looked like they needed help, the little toddler would rush over and pick up the clothespin and hand it to them. Or if they dropped a book, they would rush over and hand it to them. But only if they looked like they needed help. If they looked like they could do it themselves, they would let them alone. But if they looked like they needed help, the little ones would come and help. So we're hardwired to help. That's one of the ways we express our kindness. I have to take a moment to tell you about some kindness that we experienced in the eclipse. Of course, some of us were fortunate enough to be in Oregon for the totality. And so I was very blessed to be with Vicki and Dina, who gave me a ride from our conference in Skamania, Washington. Actually, Skamania, Washington. We came down in their motorhome and visited with some friends in Corvallis. And the guy whose house it was, we didn't know, but he was like, it's a party, so come on down. So we did have quite a party there. It was really fun, and we were all out there with our glasses, and it was an awesome experience to have it be totally dark at 10:16 in the morning, and to watch the bands of shadow and light move along the ground just before the totality. They call them shadow snakes. They're bands of light and dark that move along the street. And I'd never really heard about that before. And we did see the whole, sunset, 360 degrees of sunset. Okay. All right. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. She just leaned over like it was a seizure and shook. So, meanwhile, back at the eclipse. So not only were we having this physical experience of darkness and this awesome physical reality that we were experiencing, when you have hundreds of thousands of people who are all focused in the same thing at the same time, you have a consciousness that is amazing. We all felt something undescribable. Now we know from the Institute of Noetic Sciences that has all of these random number generators everywhere, that when a large number of people are all focused on the same thing at the same time, whether it's the Oscars or OJ being chased down the highway or whatever it is, there is the random number generators get more orderly. They get less random when we are all united in consciousness. And so we were all united in consciousness of experiencing that eclipse. So we experienced not only the physical ramifications of it, but the consciousness of it. I saw a video of CNBC's reporter in Madras, which is where Claudette was. And they were talking to her, and she said, well, it's, one more minute, and it's getting darker and darker. And she's saying, it's not quite. And then it gets totally dark. And she's, I'm waiting till other people take their glasses off. And the guy says, how are you going to know? It's dark. So she finally takes her glasses off. And then she's like, she totally loses her professionalism. All the professional just goes out the window, and she's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That's the effect it has. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's just, you're in amazement. You're in awe and wonder. And all of you together having that unified experience of awe and wonder. It's amazing. It's awesome. It's beautiful. And it is sort of a connecting thing. It's like those people I will always associate with that experience. It's sort of like, you're all war buddies in a certain sense. You have been through this once-in-a-lifetime experience together. Unless you're Claudette, and then you'll go again. But but it's an awesome, and then I think Vicki and Dina are planning a trip to, Maine in 2024. Or Antarctica, right, that's sooner, right, or Chile, okay, yeah, okay. So they're looking at where the next eclipse is because it was such an awesome experience. So another awesome experience was trying to get home from that. So we got stuck in the traffic like everyone else. And, we were all following our little Google Maps, which told us to take this little side road and this little side road. And, of course, everybody else was also taking all those little side roads. And as we came down this one road, we saw these people coming up with glasses of things and offering them to people. And we thought, they're making a little money. They're having a little lemonade iced tea sale. No, they were giving iced tea and water to the people who were sitting in traffic. Just this house on the corner with all these glasses, and they were filling them up with water and iced tea and giving them to people. So just being kind, sharing this experience with each other. When you think of New York City, you normally don't think kindness, New Yorkers are really sort of known for being brusque and, demanding or whatever, impatient. However, I found this website, and two millennial New Yorkers, Jessica Walsh and Timothy Goodman, decided to conduct an experiment in kindness. And so they decided to dedicate a year to kindness practices that they had created themselves. And the kindness practices were, first of all, asking, how can I help you? How can I help you? So they would just ask people, strangers, how can I help you? The next thing they said was they would practice opening their eyes. And they decided to test this by putting a sign out for missing person. And they put these missing person signs at various places in New York just to watch how many people would actually look at the sign for a missing person. Not very many. people just walk by. In fact, there was another experiment where I believe his name is Jeremy Bell. He's one of the primo violinists in the world. Joshua, that's right, Joshua Bell. I'm sorry, Joshua Bell. And he dressed up like a homeless guy and played in a subway station in Boston, I believe it was. And he was just down there playing 4 of the most difficult Bach pieces ever on a violin worth $3.5 million, and just to see who would stop. Some people paused, but nobody stopped, except for a 3-year-old who was trying to stop, but his parents dragged him off. And he made $32. Some people just threw him some money and went on. And previously, 2 nights previous, he had filled a concert hall at $100 a seat. But we're too busy to stop, to notice, to experience even something so beautiful. But they were saying, okay, let's open our eyes to how we can help, to how we can be kind, to how we can be present in the current moment. Because we carry so much. This little book that we're reading this month is the Kindness Handbook. And it talks about mindfulness a lot, because in order for us to be kind in the moment, we have to not be carrying the baggage of the past or the concern and worry about the future. We have to be fully present in this moment and notice what's going on. Who needs help? Does someone need our help? The next practice they had was switch it up. And what that meant was that we always have people who bother us. And what they were trying to do is say, how can I be kind to this person, even if they bother me? Because the thing is, when we're practicing being kind to someone, it's without an expectation of kindness in return. It's really because our practice, our spiritual practice, is being kind. So that's what we do. We practice being kind. And on the way back, we were listening to an Audible book that I had by Joel Osteen. And he was talking about trying to be nice. This lady, he went to get some fast food, and this lady yelled at him, what are the sides? And she was yelling at him, what are the sides? And you should know this stuff, And she was just really mean and just nasty. But he was trying to be kind, and then he drives up to the window, and she looks at him and she says, "Oh, Pastor, I love your books. Would you autograph this one for me?" And he's thinking, have you read it? But he didn't say anything. He just said, "Of course, I'd be happy to." So the other thing is, don't beat yourself up. If we've experienced unskilled behavior, we have all been guilty of unskilled behavior. Sometimes we didn't even know it was unskilled until later. We found out that we'd hurt someone's feelings, and we didn't realize that that's what we'd done, because we didn't realize that they were very tender and might take offense at something we were just said in an offhand way. And so if we've done that, then we just have to forgive ourselves and move on. So which leads us to forgive and forget. Now, they say forgive and forget, and we don't say forget because we want to know what we've learned. But we do need to forget, because we need to forgive, because forgiving is for us. This is not about atonement. It's not about reconciliation. Forgiveness is about reclaiming our own energy from an experience that we've had. Because if we have had an experience where we feel that there is something that offended us, or maybe we offended them or something, we have this experience and we think about it and we're thinking about it, and every time we bring it up, we're reactivating all of the toxic chemicals that went with that experience. And every time we bring it up, we're making ourselves sick by reactivating that experience. And so being forgiving means I'm going to let that experience have harmless passage through my mind. Harmless passage through my mind. In other words, it's not going to press that button. I'm going to deactivate that button and allow it to just move through me. If it comes up, it just moves through. I am able to release it. I'm able to claim my energy for my life now, not keep it stuck in the past experience. The next practice they had was face yourself. Everyone has their own fears and insecurities, and we hide behind them by judging others. We hide behind our own insecurities by judging others. And so they practiced sharing their insecurities with each other. If you have a loving friend, you can share that insecurity and get support for moving through it. So they had, another one which, again, was not termed in a way I would have said it, but kill them with kindness. So continue to do things for people that you don't get along with. Do something nice for them anyway. Practicing that kindness. Walk a mile in their shoes. And they actually said they had people, that they judged their lifestyle. And so they decided to spend some time in their lifestyle to find out who they were and to understand them better. So, this afternoon, and as a matter of fact, they're going to have an event at the Center for the Arts with a living room conversation. And these living room conversations are about spending time with people we do not agree with, but having a conversation, listening to each other. Not yelling, not throwing signs and, screaming and yelling, but sitting down and listening to each other. Go big or go home. That was the next one. It says, why do we often neglect the people we're closest to? So they each picked a person they seemed to constantly neglect. What makes me think it's probably a parent, but anyway. And they picked a person that they seemed to constantly neglect and did something nice for them. Pay it forward. They actually left wallets with money in them, with a note saying, please do something kind for someone with his money. Do one nice thing. And they also performed random acts of kindness for people on the street. And then they said, wear a smile for 8 hours. Wear a smile for 8 hours. I haven't done that since the first time I dropped mescaline. And then I wore a smile for probably 16 hours. It hurt. But wear a smile for 8 hours. I mean, that's a spiritual practice. Keep smiling. Keep smiling. It's good for us, actually. Smiling does do positive things for our physiology. And dive deep. The last one was dive deep. They resolved to dive deep into what they had learned and to invite on their website comments from other people to get more information, to really dive deep into all of these practices. So practicing kindness, as they put it, they have lots of different practices. The important thing is that it is a practice, and that each of us, as the presence of God incarnate, is responsible for whether or not this is a cruel world or a kind world. So our role is to practice that kindness, to be kind, to be helpful, to, jump up and call 911, to help her out, to just do what is called for in the moment, and to be present enough to do that. We also had other stories of kindness in our group last week, and I had permission to share this, but back to the eclipse again. Sandy Devine was doing some volunteer work at the Nevada City Chamber of Commerce that day, and so she brought her cardboard out so she could look at the pinhole progress of the eclipse here. And while she was there, she noticed this young man, who was sort of scruffy-looking guy, over there just wandering around the plaza. But she was looking at the eclipse, and then he came over and he started to pick up the cardboard like it was a piece of trash on the street. And she said, no, I'm looking at the eclipse. And then she showed him what she was looking at. And so then he shared that experience with her, and then another woman came over and shared that experience too. And so when it was over, he sort of offered a hug, and although he looked pretty gnarly, she gave him a hug. And then she went back into the office, and a little while later, he showed up with a bouquet of flowers for her. So, we never know what the impact of our kindness is going to be. And Sandy Schilling shared that one time she had seen a friend who was part of the youth group, teachers and things, who seemed pretty down. And so she just was inspired to write her a letter and saying, looks like you're struggling with something right now, but don't worry, it's going to pass and things will get better. And so she wrote this letter and sent it off to her. Years later, the woman told her that she had been contemplating suicide, and she got that letter, and it changed her whole way of thinking and shifted her energy into a more positive direction. So she survived that downturn that she was experiencing because Sandy had been inspired to write a letter. We never know that what we're called to do, an act of kindness, we don't know the ramifications of those acts of kindness. So it's important for us to act on them. And as I said, it helps our body. We secrete oxytocin. I mean, when I tell you these stories of people being kind, does it sort of make your heart swell? That's the release of that oxytocin in your body and the serotonin in your body. You feel those stories, you actually are activating positive chemicals, activating your immune system, enabling yourself to produce more anti-inflammatories. All of that by doing or hearing about acts of kindness. A few years ago, Reverend Madeline ordered a bunch of cards that said smile and passed them out. Do you remember that a few years ago? That is from Kind Spring. And their tagline is small acts that change the world. And they have a 21-day challenge to do one small act of kindness or mindfulness or compassion every day. And that you can sign up and they'll send you an email reminder of what the practice for the day is for the 21 days. So it's a great way to look at it. It's called kindspring.org/challenge if you're interested in getting a little inspiration for that. In the Bible it says, these are Paul's letters to the Galatians, he says, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. control. Against such things there is no law. Against such things there is no law. So we are being called to be compassionate. We create the world that works for everyone, one act of kindness at a time. So let us say our affirmation of the day. Thank you, Ike. I practice kindness every day. 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 And so it is. Let's stand for our congregational song.